So I've decided to do some composting. I've got a large garden. It needs more attention than I give it, but one of the things that I thought would have a quick payback would be to start composting. I've had some trees cut down, and when they cut trees down they chip the remnants. So I've got a huge amount of material. For composting you need browns and greens. So that's my huge pile of browns, and I've got grass cuttings all over the garden in various places to make it more convenient when I'm cutting the lawn. I've got lawn all over the place. So that's my source of greens and various other things as well. And I've got myself a composting box, very easy to assemble. 20 planks, 4 posts, goes on naked ground. Got tiles under the posts to increase the lifetime of the post, because sooner or later they will rot. Very simple, good design. I bought myself a lid to keep too much rain coming on it and keep the heat in, and I'm also going to buy what is known as a composter duvet, which adds to the heat retention. The warmer it stays, the warmer it keeps, the quicker the rotting effect. I hasten to say that I'm an absolute amateur when it comes to this composting business, as I am with everything else in the garden, actually, an absolute beginner. I'm taking my cue from various websites that explain what you should do and the steps to take. So I'm going to start off with my browns, source of carbon. I thought it's better to have a layer of that underneath. It allows the grass cuttings above to drain off any excess moisture. It just seemed like a good idea. The browns and the greens, then the browns and the greens, carbon, nitrogen, carbon, nitrogen. So I'm going to start taking my first layer. The interesting thing is how warm this has become in the couple of days that it's been standing here, really generating temperature. And you see it's dry on the outside, but actually rather moist on the inside. And I guess that's good for the composting process. So now I'm going to put it in the composter. And my guess would be between 2 or 3 wheelbarrow loads to create the first... that's not very good. I probably need a spade. 2 or 3 wheelbarrow loads, and I'll have my layer, my brown layer. I'm going back for my second wheelbarrow full. The other interesting thing, apart from the temperature and the moisture, is the fact that this is reduced in size by, maybe I'm exaggerating, by about a half since it was originally put here a few days ago. So, getting my second load, my second wheelbarrow load. So I've realised that there's a much easier way of doing this without using the spade and fork, and that is simply to take the front off and tip the wheelbarrow in. And here we go, the second load. And interestingly, this does rather look like ashes from a fire, but it's just been created by the warmth in the centre of the stack of chippings. So in my amateurish way, I estimate that that is probably good enough for the first layer of browns. So I'm now up to almost to the top of my first plank. So I'll put the second one in, just to retain everything. And in goes the second layer, the second plank. Right, ready for my, before I put in my greens, I'm going to put in another couple of items. that are recommended in the list of what should be added to the compost pile. I'm going to add some ashes, I'm going to add some bread boxes, some cardboard boxes, little bits of scrunched up paper, and we'll see what effect that has. So I put down a few pieces of scrunched up paper, a couple of egg boxes, cardboard roll, cores. I'm starting to put down some barbecue ashes as well, taking care that the ashes are from wood briquettes, obviously no coal, I think, and that's what I've read anyway. So I'll put this down and then we'll move on to the greens. So this is my first pile of lawn cuttings. As I said, I've got these scattered all around the garden, so this means quite a bit of movement from one side to the other to collect the grass. I think there are possibly two drawbacks doing it this time of the year. First drawback is it's not really the growing season anymore. August, the first part of August, July was extremely dry. Didn't rain for a long time, so the grass wasn't pushing up, so there isn't much in the way of cuttings. Back in the spring, when I was mowing the lawn, 1.5 strips and this wheelbarrow would be full, but that's not the case at this time of the year. Second disadvantage is at this time of the year, there have been very strong winds recently, and although it's not the right season, it's August, an awful lot of leaves have fallen, so I think leaves count more as greens. Well, they count half-half, so these are not going to be pure greens. And the other thing is that you leave this lying in the garden for a while, and it shrinks in size, turns brown, and composts all on its own. So a lot of this is semi-composted already. That's the turn of the greens. That was a little bit tougher than I expected, mainly because there's a layer of mature ivy leaves on the ground, and the forks of the prongs of the fork kept getting caught in the stems of the ivy. I was thinking of getting rid of the ivy, but my gardener said if you do, it has the effect of keeping weed seeds out, so you'll get overrun with weeds. So either keep the ivy, or unless you want to put something there like plants, but I'm probably going to have more bushes there than plants, so I'll leave the ivy as it is. So here we go, these are my greens ready to go. And into the compost. So that's the first layer, filling up quite nicely, but I suspect in a week or two's time this will have sunk considerably. Now I'll go to another part of the garden and get some more fresh green grass compost to lay on top. So now I'm covering all the little corners of my garden where I deposited the lawn cuttings. As you can see from my wheelbarrow, some of it's pretty well rotted already. In my amateurish way, not sure whether that's good or bad. It's probably good. It's got to go like that anyway at some stage. Well, actually, as soon as possible. So, now near my feeding station, I'm pretty sure I have another pile, so I can top this up. And by the way, I'm also collecting logs. Logs to attract insects, insects to attract bigger insects, hedgehogs, maybe birds, I don't know, whoever eats them, so it will increase the health of the garden, I think. So when I had the trees cut down, I asked the guys to leave the logs here. And there's my second pile that I'm going to take from. So here we go with the second pile, the second wheelbarrow load full. And according to the weather forecast, it's a 1% chance of rain, but if I look at the sky, my estimate would be somewhat higher than 1%. But let's see if we can get this done before the rain starts. This is England after all. So I've got some more logs there. This is going to be my wild garden. I've cordoned off 2 squares that I'm going to plant wildflowers in next spring, and already started to reduce the cutting, although I think it does need cutting in autumn sometime. We'll see. So here we go, my second load of greens. Right, now spread it. This is going to be my second layer of browns, and it looks like, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to simply tip it in because the planks are too high now. Maybe I am, but it's more likely to be spade work, and then probably I'm going to leave it open because what I just spotted was a number of inspectors coming, probably robins, possibly blackbirds, possibly blue tits, of which there are many around the garden. They've come to inspect it for anything that's worth eating. So I'll leave it open for a bit to give them a feast, see what the reaction is. And then I think I'm going to be finished for today, because I just want to leave it as it is, take stock, see if I've made any mistakes, reflect on the best way of doing things, because I'm going to be doing a lot of this. The amount of chippings that I've got, the amount of grass trimmings that I've got, and the amount of garden that I've got to cover means that probably I'm going to replicate this. I can get extension modules going up there, or even bigger modules, haven't decided yet. So I'll have a row of them along here, and of course they will take a year to complete. So I'll be in a position where I can have some composting while others are already finished and available for use. Right, get to work. So that's what it looks like. That's my second layer of browns, wood chippings, leaves, things like that from when the trees were cut down. So I'm going to leave it now. I'll probably cover it up before the end of the day. In the meantime, I'll leave it to the birds, see if they find anything that they want. And yes, cover it up at night to keep the warmth in. I'm going to buy a duvet to cover it in, but that won't arrive for a few days. But the lid and the planks should keep it reasonably warm at night, even though the temperature's sinking down not far from 10 at night at the moment. Should keep the temperature reasonable inside for composting purposes.